Vanderbilt students. My name is Alex Rizzuto, and I'm one of the career coaches with Vanderbilt University's Career Center. Thank you for tuning in to the very first installment of this video series. Our goal here is to answer those frequently asked questions I hear from students regarding career industries, internships, as well as the application process that goes along with those internships. The point of this is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how other students spend their summer and how they prepare for these experiences in hopes that it will prove insightful in your own search for a summer experience, be it an internship, research experience, part-time job, etc. But luckily today, I'm interviewing Ali Silitsky. Ali is a junior studying political science, biology, psychology. Is that it, Ali? Is it no more?
Yep, those three. Psychology is my major, and then the two others are minors.
Nice, awesome.
That's it, no more.
Cool. And how are you doing today, Ali?
Good, keeping busy during quarantine.
Got to. I'm all about it as well. So it is my understanding that this past summer, you worked as the high-risk programs intern at the Jean Crowe Advocacy Center within the Office of Family Safety.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the Jean Crowe Advocacy Center is, or the Office of Family Safety is, how that works out?
Sure. So so the Jean Crowe Advocacy Center and the Metro Office of Family Safety are kind of like partner organizations. And the Jean Crowe Advocacy Center is in downtown Nashville, and they work specifically with, it's a public organization, and they work with victims of domestic violence and help them out in the courts. So when they come in to go to the trials, they have a safe place for the victims to go to, and also accompany them to court, things like that. And then the Metro Office of Family Safety is another office. They just opened up a brand new office down on Murfreesboro Pike, like 5 minutes outside of downtown Nashville. And they kind of do a broader segment of that. So they have a high-risk program, which is what I was working in. And what they do is look at domestic violence cases, sexual assault cases, and kind of just do a multi-sector opportunity to help those people in those domestic violence, in those situations. And so they help those people out as well, and just kind of give them all the opportunities and resources that they can to make sure that they're on the best path.
That's awesome. That's really incredible stuff.
They're great.
Can I ask what led to your interest in that internship?
So I kind of started being interested in working in the public sector through my psychology major. But to be honest, I just kind of caught my eye when I saw it on Doorways, and just having the high risk program thing in there and working with victims of domestic violence all kind of tied into what I was interested in. So initially it wasn't something that crossed my mind as my top choice, but it was something that I applied to, obviously, because it caught my eye, and here we are.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. What would you say, what was a day in the life of that internship? What did that look like?
Yeah, so there are a few different things that we did on a day-to-day basis. So one of those was working with our daily jail and bond dockets. So we had a list of all of the cases that would be on the next day's jail and bond dockets, and we were able to look up all the relevant information that was associated with those cases, and then flag any of those that were especially high risk, so that the people who were in court the following day, the jury, the judge, were able to use that information in whatever way they found appropriate and kind of make informed decisions based on that. Mm-hmm. So that was the main thing that we worked on every day, since there were jail and bond dockets every day. Yeah. And then we also, each of the interns, there were 3 of us in this particular office, had individual projects that we kind of got to choose or pick based on what of our interests were. I was working on a set of data in Excel to help them figure out how to improve the efficiency of one of their high-risk panels that they were working on. Mm-hmm. So that was cool because it was something tailored to my interests, and also they were able to work with it. And then we got to go to courts, the court, and observe on Wednesdays, I believe it was. Again, this was something that I kind of tailored my interest to, so I didn't have to go, and the other interns didn't do it, but because I had expressed interest in it, it was something that I got to do. And then lastly, there were special events once in a while. We got to tour a domestic violence shelter, and then I also did a ride along with an officer in the Metro Nashville Police Department.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
it was awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, and that's, I think, a great example you're setting for any student tuning in too, because you were able to do something that you had an interest in that maybe wasn't part of that internship. And so just being upfront with your supervisors and
Mhm.
expressing interest in those areas that you have an interest in, and vocalizing them, I think is such a great move for students, like the move that you made. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome. And so what would you say was probably like your favorite part of the internship?
Um, I think just the fact that, at least for me, it was my first opportunity working in a public sector office. So just getting to experience all those different experiences because I wasn't doing the same thing every day,
Mhm.
and just like taking in as much information as I could and learning something which I had no prior hands-on experience with was invaluable because if it's something that I'm going to pursue in the future, you know, getting as much information as you can in and taking in all these different experiences that were offered to me, even if it wasn't like we didn't have to tour the domestic violence shelter, but if I had the opportunity to, and they were really open to letting us sit in on any meetings and just getting to soak in as much as we could.
That's awesome. Oh, that's really cool. And then sort of on the flip side, what was your least favorite part of that internship?
Um, I think that with any public sector job, it's a little less corporate than private sector jobs naturally.
Mhm.
So learning to work with a slower, not slower pace, but just how processes work are a little more bureaucratic and
Yeah.
slower. And also just understanding that, especially in a kind of, it wasn't a nonprofit, but an organization that was working on the nonprofit side, that they don't have all the resources that they would love to have. So that was a little frustrating. But again, you know, work with what you got and having patience for just the slow wheels of bureaucracy and public organizations was tough, but something that you have to learn to work with.
Patience is absolutely a virtue.
Yep.
Yeah. And so would you say, I know that's some things that you learned about the industry, just the bureaucratic process of it and how
Yeah.
you have to be a little bit more patient with things. Was there
Mhm.
anything else that stood out to you that you learned about the industry that you think is worth sharing with students?
Just that there's so many little nuances in each of the fields. So I think that there's a million different things that you can do in the public sector field, and each of them is so unique and different. So kind of just learning from each position and kind of taking in all of the so many acronyms. It's crazy how they use those. So
Very true.
um, just, I mean, from each position, there's something unique you can learn from every experience you have. So it's really tailored to each position, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then, so we've been talking a lot about like the actual internship itself, what you did during your last summer, but a lot of the questions I get are also in regard to the acquisition of that internship and all the lead up to that summer.
Mhm.
So do you remember, like, when did you start looking for internships or start thinking about internships
Yeah.
last year?
So I think I started looking at the beginning of the academic school year, pretty casually throughout the year. There isn't really a specific recruiting time like there is in a lot of other specific fields. A lot of organizations or agencies will kind of recruit throughout the year on different timelines. I also had an idea ahead of time of what specific internships I wanted to apply to, and most of those had published dates about when the applications would open and when they were due. So I kind of kept a document of that and then was able to keep track of those and apply as the dates came up. But most of the time I was kind of just keeping an eye in the background for most of the school year, checking doorways, checking USA Jobs, all the different
Yeah,
sites, and because it's pretty varied in terms of when the process starts.
absolutely. No, I recognize that as well in that industry.
Mhm.
And so it sounds like you found this position on Doorways, I think you
Mhm.
said.
Yes, on
And
doorways,
so
yeah.
it was pretty much like a streamlined process. You applied on Doorways, and then what
Mhm.
did that process look like after that?
Yeah, so I applied on doorways, I found it on doorways, um, and then I think I emailed back and forth a lot with the director over there, the one who was doing the hiring, just kind of made sure that what I was interviewing for, what I was applying for was what I expected, and that same for her is what she was asking of me was what I was going to give her.
Yeah.
And then we set up a time to do an in-person interview. I went in for that, and then I think I heard back a few weeks later and
That's
took the offer a few weeks later after that.
Nice. That's awesome. And is there anything that stands out to you during that application process that you think was like really crucial in your acquisition of that internship?
I think that for a lot of public sector jobs, they get a lot of applicants, but not too many of them are super high interest or super high passion about it, just because, like I said, public sector work is more tedious or more slower than your typical finance banking job. So I think when I went in person and showed them that this was something that I thought was super cool and something that I was really interested in and would apply that same interest and passion into the actual day-to-day job, was something that they were really appreciative of, especially because they were people who were super passionate about their jobs as well. And mirroring that and having that same passion as well was important to them. And just applying that in the actual internship as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, enthusiasm is always welcome. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely. So last question for you, Allie.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for students interested in finding an internship, whether it's in this field or another one? Yeah, any advice you have?
I'd say be patient, especially, like I said, in the public sector fields. There's a lot of unclearness in terms of information or like just because it's a bureaucracy, just a little bit less streamlined than the private sector. So keep applying for things, try to speak to as many people as you can in the field and learn as much as you can, because there's so much to learn and so much differences between each of the positions. And also be open to a broaden your interest in terms of the field of things, because it might be really difficult to get into a specific niche in the public sector, but you might be able to apply yourself to a much broader field of things if you allow yourself to.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic tip. I always encourage students to do the same. So it's good to hear that reinforced there. Awesome. Well, Allie, thank you so much for sharing with us today. And as a reminder to the students watching, know that the Career Center is always here for you. You can schedule appointments the same way as always through your Doorways account. The only difference is we may not be in person, might just be on video Zoom sessions like this, or perhaps on the phone. And if you have ever have any questions or concerns at all, feel free to reach out to your career coach. I hope you enjoyed this video and be on the lookout for more videos like this in the future. All right. Well, thanks again, Allie. See you later.